Hi, my name's Ray, and today I would like to talk to you about Bible translations. We get the question a lot, what's the best Bible translation available? Well, that's a good question, but it doesn't have a really easy answer. As a matter of fact, there are actually three different kinds of Bible translations. The first kind is called formal equivalence, or a literal translation. Now, what a literal translation seeks to do is to take every Greek or Hebrew word and use one English word to translate that. It also seeks to keep the original sentence structure from the original language. So it can be a little choppy to read, but the big advantage is that you get an actual rendering that looks a lot like the original text looked. Now, some examples of this kind of translation are the New American Standard. It's probably the most literal translation on the popular market today. Also the New King James and the King James. These are all examples of formal equivalent or literal translations. Now, on the far other end of the spectrum from that, you have what's called the paraphrase. Now, a paraphrase simply says, let's take the Bible and put it into modern vernacular, not worrying about what the original language said, but simply trying to interpret for today's generation the message of the Bible. Now, the great thing about this is that it's very, very easy to understand. The big minus, though, is that it's very open to interpretation. An example of this would be the Message Bible or the Original Living Bible. Now, the one smack dab in the middle is something called dynamic equivalence. Now, a dynamic equivalent translation seeks to kind of marry the two, both the literal and the paraphrasical, into one translation. Some examples of this would be the New International Version or the New Living Translation. In a dynamic equivalent translation, what the translators seek to do is to be faithful to the original text, but if they run across a figure of speech, a metaphor, or an idiom from the original language that wouldn't make sense to the modern reader, they will actually interpret that in the text so that you'll understand what it means. So you can see with each different kind of translation there's big advantages and some minuses. So probably the best thing to do is to actually combine translations out of each genre. So for instance, you might want to look into getting a parallel Bible, such as this one that carries the New International Version, the New American Standard, the New Living, and the King James. Now, in this one volume, you have two literal translations, and you have two dynamically equivalent translations. So you get a really well-rounded view of the Bible. But if you have to pick just one translation, it really depends on what you're going to be using it for. If you're wanting to use your Bible to simply read for everyday use and to be able to understand it without really having to struggle with the text, then a dynamic equivalent translation such as the NIV or the New Living Translation is the one you want to get. However, if you're wanting to do more word study, if you want to look at the language of the Bible in all of its different literary forms, such as the Psalms being poetic or the Gospels being in narrative form, telling a story, then probably a literal translation such as the New American Standard or the New King James is going to be best for you. Whatever translation you pick, we have a lot available here at the Cornerstone, and in each translation we have study Bibles that will help you understand not only the message of the Bible, but some background information, such as who wrote it, when it was written, why it was written, all those really necessary things to help you understand the context of the Bible. So come on down to the Cornerstone or visit us online at cornerstoneboone.com, and we'll be glad to help you pick out that Bible that's just right for you.